Let's now go right back to our story on the cooperation between the Nigerian Army and the U.S. U.S. forces working alongside Nigerian troops have killed the senior Islamic State commander in a joint operation that President Donald Trump says significantly weakens the group's global network. Trump announced the strike in a social media post, naming the target as Abu Bilal al-Minuki, described as ISIS second-in-command globally, and says the mission was carried out with precision and cooperation from Nigerian military. The Nigerian government confirmed the operation, saying it targeted a senior militant compound in the Lake Chad Basin and resulted in the elimination of the IS leader along with several aides. President Bola Tinubu welcomes the cooperation with Washington, describing it as part of broader efforts to strengthen regional security, while analysts note that insurgent violence in the region continues to be driven by a mix of extremist activity, communal tensions, and resource-based conflicts. So then, I'm being joined by Doug Brooks, Arise analyst from Dubai. Hi, Doug. Finally, we get to have a decent chat with you. Thank you for joining us on Arise America.
Pleasure is mine. It's good to hear you.
Beautiful, beautiful, clear now. So, what are your impressions about the latest development in the cooperation between Nigerian Army and the U.S. in taking out, supposedly, ISIS second in command globally?
Well, it's good to see the cooperation. Now, who they actually killed seems to be at question. Trump says he's the number, and Hegseth, the Secretary of War, or Secretary of Defense of the United States, both say he was the number 2 person in ISIS globally. But the AFRICOM, the U.S. Military Command for Africa, simply describes him as a senior ISIS leader. And I think the Nigerians agree with that he's a senior ISIS leader that was killed, but not actually the number 2 person in globally. But that's, in any case, I guess he's a good person. Everybody's happy to see him gone. It's just not quite sure who he was.
He's been named actually as Abu Bilal al-Minuki. And of course, having got to where he was, we're told that they took him out alongside some other aides. So do you still maintain that it might be a top echelon of ISIS, but not a second in command globally? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, that's not what I'm saying, but that's what essentially the AFRICOM, the U.S. Africa Command, and also the Nigerians have essentially not characterized him as the second in command of ISIS globally. So yeah, it's just not entirely clear. But let's. I think everybody agrees he was the senior ISIS leader. So definitely a good hit. I think one thing that you might find of interest is that the way Secretary Hegseth characterized it, it was a victory essentially for Americans and for Christians. So he really put it into religious terms, which is very unusual for the United States, which usually does not consider itself part of religious wars.
The two leaders have welcomed this development. President Trump is quite excited about it, especially with the cooperation from Nigerian troops. And President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria says this is part of a broader effort to strengthen regional security. What do you say?
Well, they certainly have picked up cooperation with the Nigerians, and that's good. However, at the same time, I think we have to recognize that a lot of other U.S. military efforts have been scaled back in Africa. Notably, we've seen advances by ISIS and ISIS elements in places like Niger and Mali, and so. While it's great that they're helping Nigeria, that's important, but there are other places where the U.S. Military operations have been scaled way back. And as a result, I think we're seeing a rise of Islamic terrorists in the Maghreb.
Okay, so analysts like you say that violent insurgence continues in that region because it's being driven by a mix of extremist activity, communal tensions, and resource-based conflicts. So, what are your advice? What are your impressions, and what's your advice in stemming this tide?
Well, absolutely. And I think there's been some of these conflicts have sort of come and gone over the years. They've been related to ethnic clashes or independence movements. The ISIS element is has been sort of added, and there's been these alliances, sometimes temporary alliances that have arisen now and then to create, basically more lethal, more capable elements that are able to attack these governments in Africa. So that has been a disturbing trend, and again, this is something that the United States used to put a lot more effort into countering, and now we've seen under Trump, there's certainly a lot less money going into Africa to make this happen, except as you can see in Nigeria with some success.
Doug, if this operation is actually what we hope it was, do you see it opening a new vista of cooperation between Nigeria and the U.S.?
That's good, and you hope this kind of cooperation continues, and you hope it's a close integration. It's really important when the United States or any country essentially operates to in support of and counterterrorism or something, that you need to have a really close relationship between the host government and the one that is helping. So hopefully, what we're seeing between Nigeria and the United States is a close cooperation. It's really to counter these terrorist elements. It's disturbing that Hegseth puts it into religious terms, but nevertheless, I think there's a reason that we would like to see good military cooperation against terrorist elements.
Well, some critics maintain still that when you take out an extremist leader like this, you should then expect a comeback. Like the mate just want to retaliate. Does that bother you?
I mean, it's something you have to keep in mind, but I think when you get U.S. assets like they're using in Nigeria against the terrorists, their terrorist elements, they're pretty effective. They're being degraded, and as long as the U.S. continues to put the pressure on, you're probably not going to have the kind of blowback that you're discussing. But in other places where you don't have this kind of long-term support from the United States or France or any other such capable military Western country, then you do get that you basically can cause a blowback that can be problematic, especially for the populations of civilians caught in the middle.
Myself, on the flip side, could President Trump be planning to use this operation, the success of this operation, to score a political point back home, or just as a distraction from the U.S.-Iran impasse?
That's a great point. Yes, I think Trump is desperately looking for a win. Iran has not gone the way that he thought it would. And we're seeing it in his poll numbers, which are remarkably low. We're seeing the price of gas in the United States is skyrocketing. Some people said it was a distraction to the charges of that he was involved with underage sex in the past and so on. So there's a lot of reasons why Trump is looking for a win, and so this killing this senior ISIS operative in Nigeria is certainly something that he's going to trumpet. You're absolutely correct.
Thank you very much indeed, Doug Brooke, for your time on Arise America today. Thank you very much indeed for your submissions.